What's up, guys? Ghostwood here. I just wanted to do a review on the patch 8.4 patch notes that just came out today. I'm pretty excited about this patch. I think a lot of people have been sharing this opinion, but I think that like a lot of the issues with the game that people have been trying to address recently, like have been identified and uh, resolved. I don't know if they've been resolved yet, but like Riot's definitely taking the steps towards resolving them. So I'm really excited about these patch notes. I'm really looking forward to it. I've read them briefly, but not enough to like give my thoughts. I'm kind of against checking PBE updates because I just like to read the notes. So just so you guys, well, I guess notes right there, right there. I guess. Yeah. So, just so you guys know, I definitely tend to think more so in competitive and such more than like solo queue, but I definitely will give my thoughts about like if I think something is going to affect your games. But like I said, more so usually looking at like the bigger picture things. So yeah, with that, let's get right into notes. So yeah, as they say, it's pretty huge. I can agree. Just like real quick, let me just show. That's about how much we're looking at today. Still scrolling, still scrolling, still going, still going. Done. And let me show you the patch notes that they did. Last, hold on, 8.3 notes. Let's look at this real quick. So yeah, and here's last week's notes. Scroll, 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 scroll. So, they definitely there's definitely a lot to look at. So we're gonna start with ability power items. They changed a lot of the items for mid lane. I think it's kind of interesting, like some of the changes they went with. It looks like they are like first and foremost addressing Rush as a mid laner, if that makes sense. Not like the player Rush. I miss him so much though. But like what people are rushing as mid laners. Changing a little bit of like the popular paths and stuff like that. I like their changes. I've heard some people's thoughts on these changes that I don't really agree with. Specifically, some people have said like, oh, like I don't think this item is going to appear as much as it is right now, and I think in some cases that's like what their plan was. So I like these changes a lot. So starting off just right with Lost Chapter, it's 1100 gold now. A lot of people have made this comment. That does mean that mid laners will have to stay for another wave or two. If you're a good mid laner, this should take you about a minute 15 or so to earn longer than it currently does. It did, I believe, no, you know what? It did keep its mana restore. Okay, cool. So it still has that really nice passive that people love about Lost Chapter, the one where it's like every time you level up, you get a bunch of mana back. So it does keep that. Um, and now it gets 10% cooldown reduction. So like for the 200 gold change. So I think what they're intending to do is like from what I understand, Riot seems to think that most mid laners will build Lost Chapter first and then go into one of three, specifically Luden's, Hextech, and Archangels. I don't think that every single AP champion in the game is going to want to get Luden's, Hextech, GLP, or Archangels. So as far as that goes, I don't know if that was I don't know if they perfectly match that because right now, if you think about rushes in mid lane, almost every mid laner right now, well, not almost, I don't want to say that, but typically, like if you're coming to mid lane and you don't really know what you're doing and you're building, then you assume like I'm probably going to get Morellonomicon first because that's just like the go-to. Obviously, you're not going to build on something like Katarina who doesn't require the mana, but Morellonomicon right now is definitely like the go-to for mid lane. So I think they're trying to achieve people instead go for a Lost Chapter and then pick one of the three. I don't know if these three are going to match the prevalence of the Morellonomicon rush, but I don't know. I could be wrong about that. So anyways, this is pretty strong. I think a lot of champions are going to start this Lost Chapter and then upgrade it. Luden's, this is supposed to be the poking option for your rush. 3,300 gold, so it's a pretty expensive first item. It did lose the Aether Wisp and the movement speed, which I think will change the identity a lot of Luden's Echo. I think right now Luden's Echo is kind of like a take over the game type item. You'll see like uh, some Ziggs, some Xerath will use it just to like be able to outspeed and like hit the targets better. Or if you're like winning, LS used the term pseudo Magi's, which I think is a pretty good way to explain it because it's like right now it's like if you buy early Ludens, it just like super shoots your mid to late game, and that's like pretty impactful. They changed the way that that works for a bit. So now it's like you still get the damage and the wave clear of Luden's Echo. You get 500 mana, you get the 10% cooldown reduction, and also the haste 10% cooldown reduction, which I'm pretty sure puts it at 20%. So this is basically, I think this is just going to be like, I poke a lot, I cast a lot. So I definitely think like your Ziggs, your Xeraths will look at starting Luden's Echo, Luxes. So I think that this is a pretty good choice. I don't really see this on somebody like Victor or Malzahar, which are two mid laners I'm particularly interested in seeing resurge. I don't really think Luden's Echo for those two is really the right option, but Hextech GLP. The biggest issue I've noticed with like people discussing Hextech GLP 800 and like how it changed the patch today is a lot of people are looking at it as like, okay, so how does this affect Aurelion Sol? It definitely does affect Aurelion Sol because he does like build this every single game right now. But some people have kind of like closed themselves off to the idea of Hextech GLP being an item for other champions, and I think Riot really does want to see this item coming out on people like Malzahar, perhaps Ari more so, stuff like that. So I would like to see GLP be built more as a rush by mid laners. I think that it offers some really unique things to the game. I really like the idea of like, am I poking, am I catching, and am I scaling for late game? And I think a lot of mid laners can identify themselves as Hextech GLP is a good rush for me because I get that 20% CDR, which is a really big deal. You get the frost bolts to slow. It comes with 500 mana. So, and it's not a what's it called? Catalyst of the Aeons, I think is what it's called nowadays. But it's not a catalyst item anymore, so it loses the like perma region. So this kind of falls off as the like only like these four champions get use out of this. I think that a lot of mid laners honestly will probably look at rushing this nowadays. If I'm being completely honest, I think solo queue wise we'll see a lot of we'll see not Archangels. I'm sorry, we'll see a lot of Ludens, but I think competitively I wouldn't be too surprised if Hextech GLP becomes like a popular rush for competitive mid laners. So, yeah, the slow percent is down to 40 and the missile speed is down to 1600. The cone is a little narrower, so it's not like as strong for slowing as it currently is, but it does give that 500. I'm not sure. I think it gives 100 AP. I'm not sure, but as long as it's somewhere from 70 to 100, I still stand behind what I said for this. So it's like I said, 20% CDR. You got good catching. I think this is going to be a popular item for a lot of mid laners, honestly. So I really like this change. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that, but I really like this change. I'm excited to see it potentially show up more. And then this is like the late game option for the new rushes. I think like Archangels is still going to be built by the exact same set of people that currently build it, truth be told. Maybe a couple more people will come into it now that you're looking at 20% cooldown reduction. Wait, is haste? So, okay. Mm, All right, Blitz Esports wrote something about it. We'll look into this. Um, okay. Yeah, so it does have 20% CDR now. Yeah, that's a big deal. So I think that Luden's Echo having 20% CDR, I think that will bring a few more people to the item. There are a bunch of champions in the past who have tried to become Luden's Echo champion. I mean, I'm sorry, Archangel's champions to like find a place in the meta. Zillion, Veigar, Lux are three I can think of that have tried to do that. Zillion has actually kind of survived without it, but these are like people who like in the past have said I could probably get use out of a tier. I think having this be an item with 50 AP is pretty bad, honestly, but 20% CDR is a lot of mana. And I guess like if you're still getting all of there's a lot more mana in this patch, so if you're still getting the like AP is mana thing, then you're still gonna probably end up usually. Hold on, what's the actual ratio for that? So 3% of maximum mana. So from this item alone, you're looking at 750. Yeah, 750 mana. Oh, 750 on top of 650. Jeez. Okay. Wow, that's a lot. So, yeah, I mean, you're looking at least like I don't want to do the math right now, but you're looking at like 30 to 40 just from that item. So, okay. So, yeah, I think a lot of champions will become tier champions because of this change. I don't exactly want to say who just yet because I'm not sure, but I think this is something that could potentially find Lux back in the meta. I would like to see that. I think tier rushing Lux might actually make her good because her mana pool has always been an issue. I think she's a poorly designed champion if I'm being completely honest, but the amount of mana that exists in the game now, I think will help. And plus, like I said, 20% CDR is like nothing to sneeze at. And I do think it's worth noting all three of these are 20% CDR items. So I think most mid laners are going to build these. I think that they have some good opportunities to bring a few champions back. But honestly, like for me, the items that really make me think champions more so are Liandry's Morellonomicon as Spellbinder. So we'll get to those, but yeah, I don't know exactly like who all is going to find themselves onto what now. But I do think that these changes were like honestly what mid lane needed. It'll crack open the current like most of us rush Morellonomicon, a couple of us are get Lichbane or Protobelt, and like a few of us are getting like a few of us are going Rod of Ages still, and a couple of us are just gonna go ahead and get an immediate Leandry's Torment. I'm glad that we've like broken out of that a little bit. Um, Hopefully in a healthy way. I don't know quite yet, but I think these three are interesting. I'm excited to see. Like I said, I think like champions who can use the mana pool will probably look at this. Champions that like are constantly poking, and I think this will be more of a solo queue item. Will go into Ludens, and the champions that are looking at catching, playmaking, and GLP seems like a pretty exciting item for that. Um, it's also worth noting because of the like unique passive haste, like they don't want you to build more than one of these, so that's something to consider. I mean, you could, but it's a lot of gold for your max build, like almost 7,000 from two items alone. But just for like the AP, two passes, and 30% CDR. But if you wanted to do that, I mean, I think like this is 500 mana. This is 500 mana. So if you got one of these and this, like you're probably looking at a lot of AP, and then you put a death cap on there. So maybe that's a build we will see. It's not that hard to get 10% more CDR, but who knows, man. Archangel Staff, I already read about. Liandry's Torment. Okay, so Liandry's has lost the flat magic penetration and has gained a new passive called Madness. Damaging champions increases the damage you deal by 2% per second until exiting combat, up to 10%. So after 5 seconds, while in combat, you'll deal 10% more damage to champions. Also, the passive of this item, like dealing extra damage onto people, burning people, I believe it's called, like for a CC, that's been dropped down to 1% of the target's maximum health over 2% of the target's current health. So that does get rid of like they said, like the flat health, like the flat magic penetration, like was against squishies, and like the max health was against tanks. I'm sorry, the current health got rid of tanks. So I'm glad that they've kind of like streamlined it into like whatever your max health is. I'm gonna like take that down, so you'll lose 1% of your max health, no matter how much HP you've built. So I really like this item. This to me screams Malzahar returns. Also LS was talking a lot about this, and I do agree with him. I think like this alone brings Rumble into the meta again. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised. This is a very strong item, and I think a lot of people who, while reading these, I'm like, okay, I don't know what they're gonna rush. I think a lot of them look at Liandry's Torment as a potential rush. Even without the magic penetration was nice, but it just doesn't, like, in the grand scheme of things, to me, honestly, it just doesn't really matter because like you're going to increase your max damage and you're ticking it down, like I said. So there was a video I saw on Reddit of like a Mordekaiser with his ult one-shotting a Cho'Gath with like 7,000 HP or something like that. From what I understand, the Cho'Gath was missing a lot of MR and it was kind of misleading. Still, he dealt a lot of damage. So like, you know, like your Mordekaiser was like, which of these stupid items am I going to build on Mordekaiser? I don't need the mana. I don't care about any of these. Like, this is a good item for that kind of champion. So like I said, Rumble, Mordekaiser, Malzahar, maybe some of the mid laners that don't really get use of the mana pool. I don't think Katarina as much. But some of the other manaless mid laners, I think that this is a really good choice for them. So I'm curious about what this will bring to the table. Haunting Guise loses the AP goes up, which is nice. It does lose the 15% flat magic penetration, but it does gain the madness passive. So I think I don't know. That seems really strong to me. So and that'll give you a total of 80 HP and 300 HP and 80 AP. So yeah, I really I really like this. I think this is a really good item. So far so good as far as the AP items go. I will say, I think it's funny, like for me personally, it's kind of a meme that like Riot updates the AP items as much as they do, because I think like I can recall maybe one giant AP item overhaul every 6 months for like the last 3 years or so. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last time that happens, because last time that they did the AP overhaul, the name of the game was Fiendish Codex, and it was like everybody has Fiendish Codex, and you buy 4 items for 10% CDR, and you get to your 40%. And like nobody really was building Rabadons anymore because there's so many nice item passives and so many nice item actives. I do kind of like that they've kind of gotten rid of that and said like, here's 3 things. If you don't really work with those, here's like a myriad of other options. So, yeah, I think this item is really good. Honestly, it might get tuned down a little bit. I wouldn't be too surprised, but I really like this new Liandry's Torment. Morellonomicon, like I said, I've heard a couple people say like, oh, Morellonomicon is going to get removed by these changes, or it'll only show up as frequently as like a mortal reminder. I think that's the point. Like they said themselves, when Morellonomicon was like introduced, it's supposed to be the anti-healing item, but it just became the best mana AP item, and everybody built it because it gave 20% CDR, all that mana at one point, all that mana regen, you get that 80 AP. So I mean, and then it went up to 100 AP. It was just like always like this was the item I built because I'm a mid laner and I need mana. So I like that Morellonomicon has been changed into this. Oh no, I'm playing against Vladimir. Oh, you know what? Speaking of which, this is a Vladimir issue, but we'll get back to that. Like, oh no, I'm playing against Vladimir. I'm gonna build a Morellonomicon, and I love that what they did to change that is you don't have to be below 35% anymore to get your Grievous wounds. You just always apply Grievous wounds. I think that's really strong. If we're giving AD carries the ability to always apply Grievous wounds, and like sometimes top laners and like desperate measures. I know at one point Echo Top, when that was a thing, was like building um the Grievous wound executioners into like Mundo and other matchups like that. So I think it's funny that we gave like ADs, top laners, the ability to apply Grievous wounds if necessary, usually ADs, but still. And now I like that Magic champions have the ability to do that themselves. So it no longer grants mana. So and it gives 15% magic penetration. So this Morellonomicon plus Liandry's Torment, that is Rumble returning to the meta, in case you weren't clear. That like Rumble is absolutely back. So yeah. Uh After that, let's look at Oblivion Orb. Because so I think this builds into, I don't completely understand what their plan is with this. Oh, it builds into Morellonomicon. Gotcha. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, um it just gives the 15% flat magic penetration. So yeah, Morellonomicon is essentially what Liandry's Torment used to be, but without the damage amplification. Instead, it's anti-healing. So I really like this item. Like I said, I don't think Morellonomicon will be as prevalent as it is right now, but I think that that's kind of okay. And I would expect this to show up on Rumble absolutely, just because health, 80 AP. So that is a pretty good item in my opinion. Spellbinder, basically, from what I understand, it's 100 AP, 10% movement speed, so kind of the stats that Luden's currently gives. And nearby an enemy spellcast charge Spellbinder up to a cap. I don't know what the like how many stacks you're getting, but I'm guessing it's a lot. And then it's like you gain a maximum of 30% decay movement speed and 100 AP for 4 seconds based on charges spent. So it's probably 1-to-1 on AP, and I guess 0.3-to-1 on movement speed. But it has a 60-second cooldown. So basically, from what I understand, it's just like you're gonna stand around, get the big stats going, and then just explode it. I do really I love the idea of adding another like timer to consider, like between your own timers and their timers. It's like if you know that their carry has flash up, then you probably want to wait for them to blow it and then use Spellbinder. Or if you're playing somebody like Rumble, which I don't necessarily say that Rumble is a good champion for this, but maybe he is. But it's like you can wait for that perfect moment to drop your ult, activate your Spellbinder, get that 100 AP. So I do really like the ability to add this to more plays. Something I haven't seen a lot recently is Celerity. What's his name? Karthus. I've noticed like Scaro has been playing that some recently. I'm curious if this is something that might actually help Karthus. You could just like blow this and then just stand still with Celerity ultis. I think that this might actually be a pretty strong item for Karthus. Not to mention, I like this and also this on Karthus, and not to mention this TBH. So I think Karthus is a champion that people are going to be surprised that it'll come into the meta after these changes, but I think that he's probably going to, if I had to guess. Twin Shadows, when they first put this on PBE, it had like 90 AP, and I was like, they're introducing this as a support item, but mid laners are going to build it. I'm glad that they knocked it down to 60 AP. I think it's going to stay a support item. Maybe if you're desperate and you're playing somebody like Xerath, or like I know at one point like Cho'Gaths were building the old Frost Queens. Cannon I know did some too, so maybe this is an item that you'll see like those people build where they don't really care about like 60 AP. It's a 2400 gold item, so I really think that this was introduced for support. I like it though. I miss the ghosts. I think it's funny that the ghosts have been like playing tennis between Frost Queens, Twin Shadows, Frost Queens, but now it seems to be back on Twin Shadows permanently. I think a lot of casters. I think brand support is probably going to be insanely strong if I had to guess this patch as well. It's Fiddlestick support, but that's partially because of changes they did to Fiddlesticks. But brand has gotten two pretty good buffs in like the last 6 months that have been largely ignored. One was like they doubled the base damage on his passive, and one was like you get mana back for killing minions or something like that off of who have been marked with your E. Um, so I think that stuff like this, not to mention like the new Morellonomicon and like Liandry's Torment, those I think that Fiddlesticks and brand support are going to be insanely strong this patch, and I think that this is one of the things. Like I said, Fiddlesticks' changes are a part of that, but yeah, ridiculous. Void Staff loses 70 AP. That's kind of lame. Whatever. If you're building Void Staff, it's because you need the penetration. Also, Void Staff fits into like every build right now, and I think they don't want it to anymore. Just like Morellonomicon. Rabadon's Death Cap 36. It's 200 gold less, but it didn't lose any stats. In fact, it got more stats, which is awesome. Like I think people are going to start building Rabadons again. I like Rabadons a lot. I think Rabadon should be a 4th or 5th item in a lot of mage builds. It's kind of lame when it isn't, but sometimes in the past it's been like, why do I need Rabadons? Because I need all these passives and actives. But like this makes an argument for just those flat stats. Now that's up to 40% AP, so you'll increase it a lot more. Not to mention, I love the double needlessly large, because if you're building it as like your 4th item, you can get 2 needlessly large rods instead of like a amplifying tome. Also, it's kind of silly, but sometimes it's like if it's your last item, you'll sit on the amplifying tome for like 3,000 or so gold, because that was like the only thing you could afford at the time, and you just needed those raw stats. And now you like will always have at least a needlessly large rod if you're building. So I really like this. Crystal Scepter got 85 AP. It got 10 more. So if you're building this and this, that's back. I think Dirty Laundry, the whole like Riley's Crystal Scepter plus Liandry's, I think that'll stick around and be like a lot more impactful this patch, but we'll see. I think Victor, Malzahar, those are two champions I'd say you should definitely watch out for this patch. Rumble, absolutely. So yeah, I like all of the AP item changes a bunch. Top lane, the favorite role of angry people. Um, uh, so there's no new keystone yet for the top lane, but I think that's okay. This mostly is just like buffs to champions in top lane. There's a couple nerfs, but they did some buffs which I like. Um, so yeah, let's look at this real quick. It's not like the giant top lane update that a couple people have been asking for, but definitely is looking at like the way the top lane meta is right now. So much so that it got its own section, like whereas like the rest of the buffs and nerfs just went into this champions tab. So all right. Darius, crippling strike. Its penetration, the cooldown went down at early ranks. Gets to the same place. The total AD ratio scales up, so it's a buff every time you level up the ability. And then ease armor penetration went up ever so slightly by 5%, I think. I really like Darius. I think that he's been like teetering on the edge of like viable for a long time now. I don't know if this is going to bring him into competitive play, but I think like in solo queue, Darius will probably be very, very popular this patch. I think he already, statistically speaking, is like considered a strong solo queue champion, especially at lower elo. So I think Darius is going to become kind of a force to deal with again. I know that there's a couple of analysts who have been saying for a while that they think Darius might make a resurgence competitively. This might do it. I don't think so because they didn't touch his Q, which is like his bread and butter ability. But yeah, maxing like getting your W max like by level 13, he's going to be a pretty strong champion, and from 1 up until 13, he'll feel some pretty nice changes also. So I like the change of like your second max ability, like making it better as you level it up. I mean, like having a buff that is like has lower returns as you level it up, but then like as you level it up, another buff gets better. I like that, so it's like at every level you'll feel this buff. So I think that's pretty good. Gangplank, the mana cost to his Q, I don't think that's going to change anything. Barrel not getting vision sucks. The duration is down to 25%, so you're going to have to be a little bit more choosy with your plays. I do think that this is actually a pretty significant change to him. I don't care about the Q mana cost. I don't think that's going to do anything, but Powder Keg, 25-second duration, that's a pretty big deal. So I like that he's not going to be so oppressive in top lane as he's been recently, where it's like he puts down the barrel and then has a minute to like set up a nice one piece. So one part, I mean, so I appreciate this change. I think that this is a step in the right direction, but like his Q is still going to deal a lot of damage. And if you're a good gank player, you're still going to go barrel, barrel, shoot. So I think for good Gangplank players, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't matter very much, but it'll make it a little easier for people who are bad at Gangplank to stay bad. So um, Gnar Q cooldown refund does not go up with ult, which is good because I think right now his Q is just too much sustained oppression, I guess. Uh, they buffed the damage on his E by a little bit, but it's like it gets lower as you go. I don't. Who cares? I think that this is a pretty good nerf to Gnar. I think he'll stick around, but it won't be constant like having to mess with Qs like it is right now. Ornn's change is very interesting to me. They buffed the damage on this ability by a lot. It's like 50 up to 150 damage buff on his dash, but the damage on his W has gone down by a little bit, and the brittle has gone down, and the cooldown has gone up. So I think they've just made it so it's not constantly having to deal with his burps or whatever. I like that his all-in combo hasn't really been changed at all. Like I think this is a really good change. Like buffing this damage like that. Yeah. Oh. Oh, so it doesn't deal extra damage. Okay. So maybe that sucks. But I think this was a good ability to put damage on too to deal with this because it's like his combo won't be hurt as much as just his constant W spam. So they buffed the duration of his shield. Who cares? I don't think that matters at all because usually you just lose the shield. Poppy change. I've heard a couple people, including LS, who I've mentioned a couple times in this video, but I really respect him as an analyst. Uh, have called this a placebo change where it's like it's not actually probably going to help her that much, but a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you know what, like played Poppy, that does feel pretty good. I'm into that buff. I'm going to start playing her. uh this being doubled on the slam is like pretty cool, but like 280 damage base, like it's nice. She'll start winning her like trades in lane again, but like it's not going to make her one shot in AD or anything like that, so I think that's a pretty good change for her. Also, the fact that like this is a little bit better early game. Like I said, I think she'll be able to survive some like really tough top lane matchups for her, and I would expect Poppy to come back into the meta, but I don't think this is a change that will make her stupid OP. So I like that. Renekton Q, I don't think this is gonna make him viable again competitively, but I think like if you're talking solo queue, this is probably going to be what it takes for Renekton players to start picking up Ws again. This is my favorite meme that they've ever put in the patch notes. I think that's so funny. But I guess I'm not gonna see any more right through the Counter-Strike complaints anymore, so that sucks. This only affects Urgot and Gnar, so who cares? Urgot has too many other problems right now. and good for Gnar. Like, I think that's okay. um, the Evelynn buffs, I'm a little worried about. I think Evelynn as a whole is a little bit unhealthy right now. TBH, I think she's a little too like oppressive or just useless based on numbers, which I think a lot of champions in the game you can say that about. Evelynn especially though, because of her just like essential like assassin play style. The amount of damage you deal when you do your like show up and kill you thing matters a lot. So this damage buff I'm a little hesitant about. I don't think it's going to get her back to where she was, where it's like ban or face, but she is definitely going to see play again for sure. Fiddlesticks, like I said, I think Fiddlesticks support and maybe even jungle is going to be huge this patch, ginormous. I think Fiddlesticks support is probably going to be like A tier to S tier, honestly. So, cooldown of Dark Wind is 10 at all seconds. Bonus damage to monsters is 100, so that makes jungling a little bit better. No longer deals bonus damage to minions. That's actually huge for Fiddlesticks as a support because he can use it more without killing the wave, and you just target the enemy champions. I think that's a big deal. Also, this is insane. The 50-second change is huge. So once you get to 40% CDR, you're looking at 32 seconds off that. So you're down to less than a minute for his ult. Not to mention, if you have 45, it's even more. Like, you're down to about 49 seconds, I'm pretty sure. That's off the top of my head. But, yeah, that's big. So, as a jungler, that's pretty nice. You're not going to get 45 on him as a jungler, I don't think. I think you're maybe looking at, like, 20, but that's still about a minute. But as a support, 49-second window to use your ult, plus you're, like, spamming E constantly. Not to mention all those item changes. Not to mention you're not killing the wave anymore. Quote me right now, Fiddlestick support is going to be a problem this patch. So, I would expect that. Base attack damage and range decreased. Base attack speed and attack speed per level increased, so she scales better. That's good. I don't like her laning phase right now. Her 2v2 all-in is like disgusting in my opinion. W now grants attack damage instead of attack speed when close is near her Oathsworn. Okay. I mean, and like her damage as a whole will be affected, but like you're not gonna have to deal with so many spears, but the spears are gonna hurt more, so whatever. I do think like hitting her early game stats and then giving her better scaling, I think that's a good change. I want Kalista to be like a Tristana and not the way she is right now, where she's trading in lane like a Draven and only loses trades in lane to Draven, so it's really good. Yeah, 25, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So you'll get 5 until level 14. So that sucks. But I mean, it makes up for her nerf. So yeah, it actually exactly makes up for her nerf. So I don't know, man. Her base attack speed went up to make up for it, so I think this is a good thing for her. I think it'll hurt her trade in lane, but not so badly. And you know, when you get to level 18, like I said, scaling AD, 25 AD is nothing to sneeze at, especially if you have your support next to you. So, and I mean, you have so much attack speed at that point that you don't really miss the attack speed, especially because the attack speed growth is 3.5 on top of the base attack speed. Which, if you didn't know, bonus attack speed, like your growth is based off of what your base was, and that also like when you buy bonus attack speed, it's based off of what your base is. So she'll get to the amount of attack speed she used to have, and now she gets 25 AD on top of that, plus all of the extra scaling. So I think that's a good change. And this change is so good because in the past they've been like, okay, you need to kill 2 units to get the mana back, or okay, you just need to kill one. And they keep going back and forth. I think it was 1 and then it was 2 for a while and then it went back to 1. I like this change. I think it's really good. Starts at 3 and then once you put exactly 1 point in it, it goes to 2, and then by the time you're at level 9, you have to kill 1. I think that is beautiful. I think the most interesting part is that by the time you get to uh, by the time you get to level 9, it's actually, you're going to have, I won't promise you'll have a Runons, but you're close to a Runon, so you're killing like 3 units at that time anyways. But I like this, like in lane, she's bad. You have to stack, pull, got the mana back, and then I had to put 1 point in it, stack, pull. So I think this was a good change for her. I really like this. I think this was the correct way to handle this. I was tired of the like, it's 1, it's 2, it's 1, it's 2. 3, 2, 1. I think that was a good change. Kog'Maw is strong because of how the game is right now. Support is the reason Kog'Maw is strong. They did not mess with support at all this patch, which is my only complaint. But I think that Kog'Maw was not hurt by the nerfs, and I think it is ridiculous that they're half reverting those nerfs. So, Kog'Maw in the past has been like, okay, we got to look at picking our, like, we got Lulu mid, we got Janna, which Lulu mid's not a thing anymore, but hear me out. Like, we got Lulu mid, we got our Janna, we got a Nunu in the jungle, we have a tank. Okay, sweet, we're good. We can pick Kog'Maw into this comp. It looks like a good Kog'Maw comp. Or, all right, we got our scaling. Like, we have like a Nasus, so we're looking at late game anyways. They have a good amount of tanks and also a lane bully AD, so why don't we pick a protective support? Okay, this is a good Kog'Maw game. We can survive past them and then just win late game. Right now, Kog'Maw, every game is a good Kog'Maw comp, so I don't agree with buffing him even in the slightest, but you know what, man? Whatever. I like that they have reverted this. I like that Rengar's old Q is back. I don't know like how viable he'll be this patch. There's a lot of other things. Um, the enemy vision range getting lower and his vision range also getting lower, but getting higher movement speed. And there's no automatic critical strike, but it now deals 30% total attack damage as bonus and shreds their armor. I think this is really cool. I really like this Rengar. I also think it's a lot easier to mess with because when your Q is a dash, you have to look at the ability as a whole. When your Q is an auto attack buff, you just have to look at damage whenever he's an issue. So I think this is a really good change for Rengar. I don't know if we're going to see him competitively. I hope so. I like watching Rengar competitive, but I'd say definitely in solo queue, I'd expect Rengar to show up a little bit. Shyvana, whatever. I have some friends who have told me that Shyvana is like a cancer in the game right now. I don't think it's that big of an issue. I will note she's being picked competitively, which is usually like indicative of a bigger thing for Shyvana. Like if Shyvana's being picked competitively, she's probably pretty strong. So maybe she did need this like early game nerf. So okay, whatever. I guess this will hurt you at every level of the game, but by level 13 you're okay. So I think Shyvana's an awful late game champion, so I think it's really silly to try and force her into a late game thing, but whatever. Maybe they're not. Maybe they just want her to be strong early game, but not as strong as she currently is early game. Swain is the worst champion in the game. His W costs less. That's still an awful ability. R heals more. Still an awful ability. Health threshold to reactivate is lowered. That's a step in the right direction. Rework this champion. He's useless. Talon, armor. Oh, B tier maybe. I don't think this is gonna do anything. I think next they're gonna buff the get damage on his Q, and then they're gonna buff how long his E roots for, and then he'll be OP, and then we gotta, oh no, Swain does so much. Why would they release this champion? But for right now, I don't think these are the changes necessary. I think he's still gonna be pretty bad because you didn't buff his damage at all or his cooldowns, which I think is silly. Um, Talon, armor went down, MR went super up, so I think they want him to be picked more into mages, as they said. Like loss of magic resist runes hurt him. That's fine. Talon at one point was like a counter to things like Ahri and Lux, so it's cool to see them try to give him that identity back. I would like Talon to be in the meta, but sometimes when Talon is in the meta, he's like 2 in the meta, so we'll see. I don't think this will hurt Tristana competitively. I mean, yeah, she'll die more, but she's still gonna be picked. She still has the like self peel is nice, but she's still gonna get to that like level 12 point where she just like jumps around and kills everybody. So, Twitch's base damage decreased. Interesting. Um, Weird. I don't think Twitch is that good right now. That's kind of a weird change to me, but I don't know. Volibear, Q movement speed increased. W now halves his cooldown when used on minions. E now knocks back enemies struck and deals extra damage to dashing or airborne targets. I think that's pretty cool. It's nice that they've picked him into like they want him to be picked into like dash champions and stuff like that. Good. I like that. This is pretty nice actually. I guess for lane, I don't really care though. I think like if you're a low elo Volibear jungle player, you might have some fun with this. Whatever. Otherwise, what is this icon? Why does he look like that? Is that part of this? Oh. Oh. That's kind of cute. Okay. Passive damage decreased, W base time decreased, whatever. I think this champion is going to be exactly how he is right now after that change. Our cooldown decreased at later ranks. Zed is super duper strong in solo queue right now, from what I understand. I think that's mostly pick rate, but I look at like sites like champion.gg. They've been ranking Zed as like 1 or 2 for a while now. Maybe it is just pick rate. Maybe his win rate is actually abysmal, but I think this is a good change for him. Like he can do his playmaking more late game. I would like to see Zed be competitive. All right, lots of changes here. Early game is a little bit stronger. If we're hurting her as the champion, that's fine. Base damage on this is what? Stronger, 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 the same. Okay, so she just scales a little bit better with her passive damage. Yeah, I guess that's nice. No, actually, I guess she scales into it better, if that makes sense. Like her early game is actually helped more by this. Base damage on Q is down by 60 at rank. Bless up, that's good. And have the ability power. And it doesn't apply the more sparkles damage to the enemies past the first hit. That's a good change right there. I like that change. Menus no longer drop teleport. I think that's very important. Also, I like that they have buffed the AP ratio on this champion's W because I would like for her to keep dealing damage, just not the way she does right now. And I think it's cool that maybe like Flashing will deal a little bit more. And the cooldown not being reduced when they fall asleep was that should have never been sent alive, and you can cleanse it. Good. Good, good, good. I want Zoe to continue to one shot. I know that it's an unpopular opinion. I want Zoe to keep one shotting. I just want her to work harder for it. So I think these are changes in the right direction. Plus, like, everybody getting a QSS is kind of a thing right now. First it was because of Malzahar, then it was because of Skarner. So this does work well. Like, I'm an AD. I already have my QSS, so I'm not going to get one shot by Zoe. Good. Good change. Also, yeah. I'm just so glad that it doesn't refund anymore. Extra damage to minions. We were worried that some of the old runes and masteries would make last hitting so hard. Oh, basic attacks no longer deal 5 bonus damage to lane minions. Okay, whatever. The movements. Okay, ancient coin now has movement speed. I guess that's pretty good. Health decrease. That's good. Tanky like playmaking supports are a little too impactful right now. I like how it only says they remove Tracker's Knife. Actually, I think that's kind of funny because I'm pretty sure there's bigger changes with Jungle, but we'll get to that, I guess. Um, Wits End, the cost decreased, on hit damage increased, max magic damage. Wait, max magic resist drain increased, but magic resist per stack halved. Okay, this is good ish. Here's the issue: this item is too prevalent right now. Too prevalent right now on hypercarries. That's just a fact. Doing this is a bad idea if you don't add the half thing. Maybe it's good, like I'm Varus, I'm Kog'Maw, I have to work a little bit harder for wits in. I think this is going to make them even stronger late game, but maybe that's the point. Who knows? I mean, they're hyper carries that are getting late game at 15 minutes, so maybe this is a good idea. But I don't know, man. I'm a little bit worried that like the nice changes. Yeah, see, it goes up by ever so slightly, and it costs less. Yeah, so it's like they're gonna have to work harder for it, but I think that's gonna be nice. Specking Precision alongside Sorcery or Dominion grants you some stats. Precision Domination gives you attack speed with AD or AP. Domination Precision gives you the same thing. Precision Sorcery and Precision. This is awesome. I like this a lot. I think that there's just a little bit too much attack speed in the game right now, honestly, which makes me kind of wonder like why Lethal Tempo, especially after the bus, hasn't really seen any play because it's really easy to cap your attack speed right now. So I'm curious, but that said, like losing half of that attack speed and getting some stats, I think that's pretty good for ADs. So I'm into that. Um, the damage on press the attack has been increased, and the amplification scales. That's a good change for press the attack. 'Cause so far we've seen press the attack be way too important and actually useless because I want to survive my laning phase. Um, I like that it's like, oh no, I'm gonna win in my laning phase, but like not to the point where as soon as I proc this, now me and my support both deal hundreds of damage with each ability press. So I like that, and I like that late game like Tristana, like you get it up to 12%, everybody can go in. So I think that's a good change. Unflinching has been moved to Vitality. Okay. So this is the strength. Okay, so bone plating instead of demolish a font of life. I think this is good. I don't think unflinching had any business being next to these other two because I think like if you're a support you want font of life. Even some supports are taking demolish, but I think a lot of champions are like demolish is awesome. I haven't seen unflinching really mean anything to anybody yet. So bone plating, after taking damage from an enemy champion, their next 3 spells or attacks against you deals less damage. That's awesome. I love the 45% cooldown. That is really good. So you can all in as like a tank, survive some matchups. I think that's going to be super good. So I good change. I really like that. I like that it's only goes up to 150 damage reduction at level 18, so it's not going to be that impactful at the end of the game. I think that's really good. If you're playing somebody like Jax, you still want to blow up the tower. If you're playing Alistar, you still want your Font of Life. Maybe you want to blow up the tower. That's fine. Um, it's nice to know that people like Mundo, which I would like to see eventually show up in the meta again, like or Malphite can just like have the ability to trade against somebody like Fiora or Jace without like being ruined. Resistance has 4 runes now. Okay, Second Wind has been moved here from Vitality. So that's the one where you heal when you get hurt, right? Okay, that's pretty good. I like that. This is my favorite tree of runes because I think it is most obviously the like game versus champion thing that they were trying to do with the new rune system. So good change. I like that. Second Wind has been moved here from Vitality. Like I said, is good because I do like that that you can choose this like okay, so do I just want to heal up or do I want to focus on my lane matchup or the late game? So I like this. Uh, Unflinching has been moved here over Overgrowth and Revitalize. I think that was I think that was the right call because now you choose like my shielding and healing, am I focusing on my late game, or do I want to be able to survive without summoner spells? That was a good change. Good work, Riot. I'm proud of you for that one. Um, no longer gives potion duration, so that's fine. So it just gives you better stats. Okay, that works. 10 minutes. Good change. Great change. I'm really happy with that. Celestial Body removed. Good. Who cared about that rune? Time Warp Tonic. Your potions, whiskers, and biscuits last 20% longer, while under the effects, you gain 5% movement speed. Okay, whatever. That's the weirdest tree in the game, in my opinion, because I think most people are going to either take the CDR or the one that's like, I don't, approach velocity, I think is what it's called. So I guess this is just like, if you're playing inspiration, you don't want those other two. This does help your sustain, so I guess it's pretty cool. Blast cones, outer 4 blast cones spawn later in the game, so you can only get this one, this one, this one, and this one later in the game. How much later? Between 300 and 330 seconds, so after 6 minutes. That's so nice because I think right now jungle just ganks too easily. So that was good. That should have been when they originally released the plants, but whatever. This is legacy from anti-poaching efforts in the past, not really relevant anymore. Ancient Krugs no longer take reduced damage from range basic attacks. Okay, I didn't even know they did that, honestly, so whatever. Baron gives more AP and 1 point less of AD, and it scales up to a lot more, so that's cool. So Baron gets better as the game goes on. I guess that's nice. I like that it starts exactly as strong as it is right now. That'll help in games, which we need right now, so that's a good change. Minion buffs, large buff fixed a bug where bonus attack damage wasn't affecting empowered siege minions attacks against structures at all. This is twice as impactful as it sounds. This empowered siege minions deal double damage to turrets. So with Baron you siege more, I guess, is what I understand about that. Elder Dragon, Elder Dragon buff. So your team gets beyond the first grant even stronger effects. The first buff your team gets is unchanged. Uh, oh, so after your second, yeah. So this is like the Baron change. Insta game faster. That's good. That's a good change. Honor stats. You will now see unique stat. Okay. I don't care. Bugs. Sweet. All right, in my opinion, this is a very good patch. Like I said, I would watch for Brand and Fiddlesticks support. I would also watch for Rumble top. I would watch for Malzahar and Victor in mid lane. As far as the game as a whole goes, I like that they've reduced it. Wait, hold on. So is the new jungle item not here yet? Oh, okay. I guess it's not. All right, interesting. So, I'm looking forward to the new jungle item change, but getting rid of the wards then was a good idea for competitive jungle. I like that the games will end faster now, and I like that jungle can't do more early game. All in all, I think that this was a really good patch, so I'm really happy with this one. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and that's it.